I believe it was Heward, the announcer. I think announced this or misdescribed this as he thought the tight end was hiding behind, meaning Carson Meyer. He's not really a tight end, but he was hiding behind the lineman. But that's not really what's happening here. He's lined up as a wing back or whatever you want to call it, fullback, kind of off the line of scrimmage, similar to a tight end. And we're going to fake the run. We're going to pull the tackle here, which is really just pass protection. And Meyer is going to block down like it's a pass or like it's a run. He's going to then go to the second level and pretend to block the linebacker there, and then is going to release. And because of that, he's going to be wide open. So really good design there for a wide open pass. I love this play design. I love Riley. Here we have the tight end, or whatever you want to call him, Calcaterra, and Meyer is out here. Here's the running back. So like our entire backfield is spread out wide, and they're putting a man coverage there. And you have the field side with only one receiver there. So where's Hollywood Brown? Hollywood Brown is in the backfield as the running back. But the purpose is not to run the ball. He's actually going. Everyone else is just clearing out, almost like an isolation play in basketball. I don't know who this is. If it's a safety, if it's corner, or linebacker. I don't think it's a linebacker, but it doesn't really matter who you put on him because he's going to be running. It looks like an option route. So he can go either way, deep, whatever. It's just to put a man on a man, give him a lot of space, and by being in the middle of the field, gives him a lot of room to use his speed to get open. So he's just going to come up the field. There he goes. He's matched up on him. He's just going to run a quick out. There's just no way he can get to him in time. And all the space in the world. And of course he's going to make him miss and get the first down. That will be a nightmare to cover it. This is awesome. The thing about TCU, I don't know how known this is. I've talked about it quite a bit in the past, but the thing that makes Gary Patterson's defense unique, without getting into all the details, is that the parts of the defense are split up into like modules. So the linebackers and the defensive line, they have their own call. The left side, the DBs on the left side, have one call, and the DBs on the other side have a different call. There's not one play call. So they can mix and match whatever, and they don't really know what each other is doing. They don't need to know because of the way it's designed. It's one thing that's really, really clever about it. So they each get their calls from different places. So you're running a different coverage over here than you are over there, and it kind of makes it difficult. The linebackers kind of do the same thing. While you may have man over here, corner over here, zone on the other side, whatever, it can possibly get confusing communicating, knowing when to say, you need to pick this guy up because I'm not going to carry him over and things like that. Well, I believe this is what he's taking advantage of. Typically what you'd have, and we use mesh a lot. Everyone uses mesh. It's one of the most popular plays, especially recently. It's been around, since the early Leach days, but it's basically a double cross route, shallow cross. Sometimes it's two receivers. Sometimes if you have a back, the back will run one while the receiver from the other side runs the other. And then you have a receiver kind of coming over the top. The outside receivers are often running deep out routes. Anyway, because the crossers are running across, they to different sides rather. Linebackers are will pick up from each other, because if you try to follow a man to man, then you bump into each other, and that's what you're hoping is going to happen. And so you can hit one of the receivers in flat and be open. But Riley's going to do something very strange here. Lamb, who's actually lined up as a Z receiver as a slot, whatever, and the running back are going to run to the same side here, which looks almost like a problem. But see, the linebacker here, he's going, okay, I got to take the running back. That's who I'm supposed to take. The other linebacker sees the cross. Okay, so I'm going to pass him off to the other linebacker. But the linebacker is taking the running back. So what does he do? He's going to fake and then go deep. And no one's going to cover him. Have a purposeful rollout. And he's going to hit Lamb wide open. We're going to run this again later on, and it's going to work as well, although not for a touchdown. Just real quickly wanted to point out that we did get the first down on this 3rd and 1. Or at the very least it should have been on the 1-inch line. I mean, the ball is right here in his arm. Here's the line. It's clearly right on the line. And then he's knocked backwards. And then the ref's going to mark him right there. It was reviewed, and then they said it stood. The announcer said it was confirmed, but that's not true. They stood, so they said there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it, but they should have at least awarded it at the 1-inch line, if nothing else. I got to show this play. Brooks is in the backfield with Sermon, something I hope we see a lot of, and it's going to be looks like a zone read, or maybe it's just a fake. But anyway, Brooks is going to block the 3 guys on this play. Just does a tremendous job shielding off the defensive lineman, using his leverage and shoulder. And then he's going to block number 3 here as well, blow him up, and still be able to run and then block number 17. So the 3 closest guys, Brooks blocks and allows Murray to get the first down. Brooks has got to be on the field, and he's a terrific blocker as well. One of the things Riley is so good at is creating counters to all the typical routes. In fact, I'd say probably the majority of the routes, at least last year, that are open, that are caught from receivers, were counters. Counter routes. You just don't see this a whole lot from other teams now. But these are some of my favorite stuff that he does. We're going to spread out an empty package, and it's pretty simple. Everyone clears out except for Hollywood, and he's appears to run a pivot route, which is where you fake to the inside and then you run to the outside. And see, the defender has inside leverage, so that would be good for that pivot route. But he's actually going to fake the pivot route and then come back inside. So you can see he's got inside position. So he's going to fake. See, this is what the pivot route looks like. He stops and then goes to the outside, which he probably would have been open had he done that. But then he comes back inside for an easy pitch and catch. And because you're spread out with the empty backfield, the middle of the field is going to be open, which is why the defender was defending the middle so abruptly, so obviously, to prevent that. So this was a way to get into the middle, another way, despite the inside leverage of the defender. This is a new one for me as well. It may not be, but for me it is. They're going to double this linebacker here. Normally you do kind of a high-low crossing route or something of that nature. This is, I don't know, what's his face, the tight end, is going to run a crossing route behind him, and the receiver here is going to run like a stop route right here. So it looks kind of like they're running the same way, but instead of running like a high and low, he's going to stop right here, and then the crossing route's going to kind of go behind him. So it's almost a diagonal combination, high and low, and horizontal stretch at the same time. So he's responsible for both of those, and Riley knows that. So he stays with the stop route, so he's going to pass to the crossing route right before the safety can get to him. I want to point out how ridiculous this this penalty is on Creed for two different reasons. Number one, I mean, he's only going 4 yards instead of 3, but you'll notice he's being pushed by the defensive lineman for that 4th yard. So he shouldn't be counted anyway. But it's also completely away from the play. The spirit of the law is that you're not supposed to be able to either block downfield, which he's not, and you're also not supposed to give the illusion of run, which he's not. Everyone's flowing to this side, and he doesn't even need to move anywhere anyway, but he's just pushed over. So it's a completely pointless rule to enforce there, and it shouldn't have been forced anyway. Just FYI, this is another 3rd down that we should have gotten a 1st down on, but they marked us a yard short. Clearly, he's over where that yellow line is, and kind of right on where the 20-yard line is before he's hit, and then knocked backwards. So it really got gypped out of another 1st down. On the 4th down before, we lined up and then ran a quarterback sneak. So you see the defensive tackles right on top of the center, and the linebackers ready to crash the inside gaps here to stop any run up the middle. He sees that, so he audibles to the option, which with the initial action you see right now, it looks like the way he's turning and the way the Brooks, the way he's taking a step inside, looks like he's going to be running inside, draws those linebackers in, and the guard and the tackle are both coming inside to block, and the tackle is actually going to block the linebacker there, which leaves no one out here but the defensive end to cover the option, and you have good blocking downfield. And I mean, even though he probably should have, if it was a true option, he probably should have waited longer before he pitched it, but he doesn't need much because you're not going to catch him because he's so fast. And then, of course, sheds a tackle and then makes it all the way in to the end zone. I thought this was notable because this is a play that we ran with Mixon and Pirine both in the backfield. But instead of Mixon, we have Mixon we have Sermon, and instead of Pirine, we have Brooks. And Sermon is just going to run a swing route for like a screen type of a pass, and the line is going to be counter blocking the guard, tackle pulling, and he's going to read the defensive end. If the defensive end crashes in, he can pull it and then pass it to Sermon, although you also have a linebacker here waiting, so that's probably why he goes ahead and hands it off. And you have block on block everywhere, man on a man, and Brooks, they're lucky he is actually able to get him right there because Brooks doesn't go down that easily very often. This is a great little wrinkle. This is his Kennedy Brooks. This is his big touchdown run up the middle, and the reason is, look at the guard. The guard is going to pretend like he's pulling, like we do all the time, but instead of pulling, he's actually going to stop, and then he's going to go upfield right in the gap, and then block the linebacker. And so that's going to create a hole. Brooks just goes straight up the middle and makes both of those guys miss, and he's gone. Now, I'm not as familiar with the rule, but I don't understand why there's an illegal shift here. If any of you guys know the rule and can explain exactly what happens, I would like to hear it. He's the only one moving, Calcaterra here, and he kind of stops and then shifts back inside. Um, I I'm not aware of any. This is very, very, very possible that you have to stop and then move if you're going to do in motion, or because he went forward a little bit before going inside parallel to the line of scrimmage, that's illegal, and somehow I don't know. But as far as from what little I know, I don't see anything illegal about that. Now, this is just absolute baloney. The illegal formation penalty. Your head's supposed to be on the waist of the center. So yeah, technically, like all five of them, well, everyone except for Powers, um, they are farther back because they're standing up. If they had one foot on the ground, their head would be. Um, but the point is, if you see that as a ref, you go to the coach and you say they're lining up just a little bit too far. You watch that, have them, come up a little bit, and then if they don't make the change, then you flag them. I mean that you don't just go in there and say, oh, there's tiny, tiny little bit off. I'm gonna go ahead and penalize them. I mean, what good does that do anyone? It doesn't really give them that much of an advantage. If you think it may be giving them a little bit of advantage, then you go talk to the coach. I just think that's just insane to me. And especially, I mean, what good are you doing the game? To change the game and take away a big third down conversion like that because of something so silly. It's just dumb. By the way, I forgot to mention this, but obviously I was wrong earlier when I said that Kennedy Brooks run was a touchdown run. Obviously it wasn't. I was going to say that and I forgot. Anyway, in the second half we see some of the same plays run in the first half. Usually that's when Riley kind of scripts, I think, about the first two quarters, and then by the time it gets into the third quarter, the script kind of runs out, and he's kind of recycling plays. And this is that I don't know what you call this, but this is the kind of the fake mesh where the Lamb is going to go the same direction that Brooks is, and then he's going to turn it up and go deep. This time the linebacker actually follows him. He kind of goes off the screen a little bit, but you'll see here in a second. There, he's actually following him, but he's a linebacker and he's not able to stay on him, so it still works. He still gets wide open, and had he not gone out of bounds, he probably would have had another touchdown. And this is the Kyler Murray effect here. You'll notice it's the shallow cross screen or drag screen, whatever you want to call it. That was Riley's favorite play a couple of seasons ago, and they're ready for it. As Lamb tries to cross, you see his linebackers covering him, and the defensive end both are following him over. So Kyler can't throw it to him, but Kyler just scrambles and makes a guy miss right there, and gets a big first down, a really big play on what probably should have been disaster. This is the nifty little Statue of Liberty play that could have gone for much bigger yards than it did. The Kyler is going to fake, looking over here, and the center is going to pull and block the defensive end, while the tackle is going to come up and block the linebacker. and the guard is going to block down on the defensive tackle, so he should have a good angle there on that block and be able to pin him to the inside and create a really nice lane here. Unfortunately, the defensive tackle does a really great job. You can see right here, the Kyler is about to hand off. Whoop, there he goes. Backwards, trying to make the focus of the defense go to the screen over here. If he can make this block here and keep him with leverage there, then he has an alley that he can run to. But he's able to. Does a great job of who knows what he's doing, recognizing it, whatever, getting to the outside and really forcing him, Sermon, to go back inside instead of taking this alley here, where he's going to get tripped up there. And he's still able to get a pretty good gain on it. But a really good job by the TCU defense. Bobby Evans is actually going to do a pretty poor job on this block here. Going to let him go right out there. But Kennedy Brooks is so fast that he's not even able to lay a hand on him. Look at that. He gets through there so quickly and then ends up making a really big play. Kennedy Brooks he's definitely special. I thought this was really telling. Definitely Hollywood they were using as a decoy because this is the kind of triple option play, and it works. Brown is wide open, and he's not even looking to pass to him. And we've seen them run this play before, so we know he knows to pass to him, and in the same situation he has. And had he passed to him, there was no one over there to stop him. And he's not even really going to try to do much of a block, and he's just going to go outside for no gain. But that would have been a big gain had he gotten it to Hollywood. So they definitely did not have any confidence in wanting him to carry the ball. This is an incredible run by Kennedy. It's an outside zone, and the idea is to be able to hit a seam out here or cut back. Ideally, you don't want to cut back where the unblocked, where the read man is, but he does such a good job. Just a quick cut, and not only is he going to prevent, not allow this guy to slow him down despite getting both hands on his waist, but he's actually going to get hit by the unblocked linebacker there and somehow keep his balance, and then, man, he's just gone after that. Just an incredible run by Brooks. He's something else. Not to be outdone, here's Sermon on the very next play, looking very similar. It's an outside zone, the same place, and he again also is going to cut back, and the linebacker is going to try to get in the gap there and take himself out of the play with a great cut. And I am really high on Sermon as well, even though he's not as big of a home run threat and doesn't have the same strengths that Kennedy Brooks has. But as far as getting yards when you need them, and being able to just, man, he's tough to get down. He does some great stuff as well.